See, the moon is the only satellite of Earth. So, moon takes 27 days to complete one round around the Earth. That is called sidereal month. But what happens is, in those 27 days, Earth has moved ahead in its path around the Sun. And so, to have a same position of the moon, it takes 2 more days. So, it comes out to be 27 plus 2, 29 days. The phases of the moon are nothing but the lit part or the day part of the moon observed from the Earth. And so every day the moon changes its position around the Earth. And so when the moon is exactly opposite to the Sun, so Earth is at the center, Sun is at one side and moon is at other side. So the moon is completely lit. The half part of the moon is lit, and that is in front of us, and so we see full moon. But the next day the moon rises little late, so 52 minutes late. And then that time the angle of the moon is changed, and so we do not see the whole lit moon but a partly lit moon. And so every night we see a different illumination. So we see the same part of the moon, but the illumination part is different. And so after 15 days the moon changes its position and it goes close to the Sun, towards the Sun. And so then the lit part of the moon is the other way, other side. And for us on Earth we see only the dark, and that is new moon. Okay, so these are the different, every day the moon shows a different illumination. That's called phases.
And what is the influence of these different phases, the different, the influence of the moon over the Earth?
The biggest influence of moon is on the water. And so we get tides. And so we have various kinds of tides. We have neap tides, we have spring tides. And these tides come because of the moon's and the sun's attraction. So when the moon is full or new, that time we get spring tides. And otherwise we get neap tides. So spring tides are large tides, and that is the attraction of the sun and the moon together, or the sun at one side, the moon at other side, and Earth at the center. It's a very simple geometry. There are only 3 spheres. One is Earth, one is Sun, and one is Moon. So when all these spheres are in one line, then the gravity is in one line, and so it's maximum. And so the water is pulled maximum at both the sides, and so we get huge tides, which are spring tides. So this happens twice in a month. One is when it is full moon and when it is new moon. So in new moon time what happens is, the sun, the moon and the Earth, they are again in one line. And in full moon time, the sun, Earth and the moon, again they are in one line. So these are the 2 times when we get maximum tides. But when the moon is half, like here, sun is here, moon is here and Earth is here, so we get a 90-degree angle. Okay, so at that time we don't get a full tide, because the moon is pulling the Earth upwards and the sun is pulling the Earth sideways, and so you get a tide in between. Okay. So this is one of the most important, profound effects on Earth. The gravitational pull is on everything. It's on gases, it is on the land, it is on the water. Only thing is, everything is moving on the land as well, up and down, so we don't feel it. But every day and night there is tide. We experience tide. All the buildings experience the tide, all the roads, all the cement concrete walls, everything experiences the tide. But it is very small compared to the water, because water is liquid. And so the bonding is lesser than the bonding in the solids. Gases are more loosely coupled. With the molecules of the gas are loosely coupled. So the gases will get affected the most, then the liquids, and then the solids. Solids, the molecules of solids are very tightly bound to each other, and so they don't move much. But liquid, they are little loose, and gases, they are really, there is very hardly any bonding, so they can just move around anywhere. But yes, we are going up and down all the time because of the tides.
And even a glass of wine would experience
a
tide?
Yes, it will. Definitely yes, because it is nothing but, again, a liquid on Earth. So everything on Earth will get affected because of the tides. Because tide is nothing but gravitational pull of the sun and moon, both. And even some of the planets like Jupiter, any big body which has large mass, it exerts gravitational pull.
It's just that the moon is very close.
Moon is very close, yes. And the word month has come from Mona, that is the moon's path. So month is Mona. There are many civilizations who have their calendars which are based on moon.
Okay.
And there are some civilizations having the calendars which are based on moon and sun. So we call them lunisolar calendars, because both of them are important for timekeeping. So moon also helps us in timekeeping. And now there are theories, they say that the life formed first in the water, and because of the tides it could come on the ground. And so for the evolution of the human beings or evolution of the life, the moon is important, because if there were no tides, then the sea animals or the sea creatures, they might not have come on the land. Even some doctors have found that they don't operate on full moon or new moon because some people may bleed more. And even some sea creatures, even the oysters are generally below the sea and below the sea level of water, and they are in the dark part of the water. I mean, there is the sunlight won't reach there, but still their life cycle depends on the moon. They know the moon's phases and the moon's position, and accordingly they behave. And there are certain trees, they also behave as per the lunar cycle. When the moon is full, that time we have maximum gravity and maximum light. Okay, so this light also affects the plants.
Really, in what way?
See, what happens is you have, in the normal nights, you don't have moonlight as bright as it when it is full. Okay, so when it is full, actually you can see, you can walk in the moonlight, and so this light definitely affects their growth. So we are not very sure about how exactly the moon affects the trees, but there are evidences that they show that it affects.
Like you were telling me about your guru.
Yes.
Who was, that's a great example. Maybe you could tell me the story.
Yes,
again.
yes. In India we play flute, and it's a bamboo flute, and we hold it like this. And so flute is quite long, something around say 2 feet long or 3 feet long. So these are made up of bamboo. It's a very high quality bamboo and of special breed. But my guru used to say that if you cut this bamboo on certain dates, like 13th day of the moon, 15th day of the moon, 9th day of the moon, or 7th day of the moon, so that is an odd days, not even. And then if you process the bamboo to make a flute, then the flute will not last long. The flute will decay faster. So the science behind this is not known, but this is a tradition which in India they follow. So they don't cut the bamboo trees for making flutes on those particular dates. Okay, yeah. So there is definitely a gravitational attraction of the moon and it affects the life forms.
And so in terms of north and south hemisphere,
there is no much change if you go to south or north. The only important thing is if you are on the equator, then the moon will be more or less above head or up in the area called zenith. So zenith is a sky exactly above head. But as you go more towards north or more towards south, then the moon's orbit will be more towards horizon.
Okay.
So moonlight will be lesser and lesser as you move more towards northern latitudes or more towards southern latitudes. When it is above head, so the gravitation on Earth will be very high at that point below. And this is another interesting point. When the moon is above head and the water exactly below the moon will take some time to get affected because of the inertia. And so as the moon moves ahead, the tide comes from behind. So in reality, the tide should be immediately where the moon is, but it won't work that way because the water has a lot of inertia. And so as the moon moves, the tide comes from behind. And so there is a definite difference between the moon's phase and a tide. And that can be mathematically calculated. Not very difficult.